Good morning, friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It is my second video, and today I thought tomorrow I have discussed GDP, but I thought the issue which is currently affecting our Indian economy very much is inflation. So I thought to cover inflation because it is very dynamic approach, and without understanding the inflation, we can't correlate with the situation of the GDP and whatever is going on in the news. So let's start. What is inflation? Inflation, the rise in the price level of products. Means generally, for example, this pen is having the cost of 5 rupees, and over a period of time, when the price will increase, it will become of 20. Means what is happening here? The price level of good is being increased over a period of time, and it will be called as inflation. Okay, it's simple. There is a relation between inflation and economic growth. Inflation is directly proportional to economic growth. Clear? And the most important thing is that on what thing inflation depends. Usually inflation depends upon demand and supply. What is demand? Sorry. What is demand? Let's suppose I have two pens. Okay? And suddenly what happens? The demand goes high. Means in market we required 5 pen. Then in order to do that we have to produce 5 extra pens. Means now I have to produce how much pen? Earlier only 2 pens were required. Now 5 pens are required. Means we have to produce 7 pen. Means what happened here? Demand has increased. So inflation basically depends upon demand and supply. So you will be confused at how it is measured, how inflation is been measured. So inflation is measured through a price index. Okay. Now coming to adequate demand. Tomorrow I have discussed the concept of adequate demand. I am repeating it again. Adequate demand is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Okay. C is what? C is consumption made by public. I means what? Investment. And tomorrow I have asked that the value of G. What is G? G here stands for government expenditure. Okay, and X minus M means total export minus import. And in case of India, we are more or less dependent on imports. And what is AD? AD is adequate demand, means total demand of an economy. Okay, so let's move forward. So concept is clear about adequate demand. Now let's come to the target of government. How much government wants to target the inflation? Means there is a target which is set up by Monetary Policy Committee or RBI, and it is 4 plus minus 2%. Means minimum it should be 2% and maximum it should be it may be 6%. 4 plus minus 2. That's it. Now let's talk about the types of inflation. So inflation is having various types. It is a बहुत लंबी फहरिस्त है, तो एक एक करके हम उसमें जाएंगे. फर्स्ट, क्रीपिंग इन्फ्लेशन. क्रीपिंग मीन्स व्हाट? द क्रिएचर विच क्रीप्स, है ना. रेंगने वाले पशु जो होते हैं क्रीपर्स और क्लाइंबर्स. इन प्लांट यू माइट हैव स्टडीड अबाउट क्लाइंबर्स एंड क्रीपर्स. मीन्स जो धीरे 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 चलते हैं, क्रीपर्स. तो क्रीपिंग इन्फ्लेशन क्या होता है? वो माइल्डेस्ट फॉर्म ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन होता है जो कि 2 to 3% होता है, विच इज यूजुअल, मीन्स नॉट बिग डील फॉर एन इकोनॉमी. सेकेंड इज वॉकिंग इन्फ्लेशन. आप क्रीप कर रहे थे फिर वॉक करने लगे आप, मीन्स इट वुड बी वन स्टेप फर्दर. What is it? More than creeping. In creeping, what was there? 2 to 3%, and in walking, 3 to 10% inflation. Now, third one is galloping inflation. Now, what is galloping? Galloping means a high, means it is running inflation. पहले creep हुआ, फिर walk किया, फिर अब run कर रहे हैं, galloping inflation. तो creeping inflation क्या था? 2 to 3%. Walking inflation 3 to 10%. एंड गैलोपिंग इन्फ्लेशन 10 to 50%. मीन्स बहुत ज़्यादा इन्फ्लेशन, उसको गैलोपिंग इन्फ्लेशन बोलते हैं. नाउ द एक्सट्रीम केस इज देयर हाइपर इन्फ्लेशन. हाइपर इन्फ्लेशन इज व्हाट? प्राइस rise at an alarming rate, means very tremendously the price increases over a period of time. It occurs when more money supply is there. Means what is money supply? Let me simplify it. Money supply means our market is what? Driven by demand and supply. And when the money will be outlaid, means it will be given to the peoples, they will spend more and more. Okay. So in hyperinflation what happens? Money supply increases and the demand increase. Demand nahi, inflation increase at alarming rate. Okay. Now let's cover inflation cause wise. Cause means किस प्रकार से cause हो, क्यों हो रहा है इन्फ्लेशन, उसके आधार पे मतलब उसके टाइप्स को पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है. नंबर 1 इज डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन. डिमांड पुल इन्फ्लेशन मीन्स when inflation is due to the demand side factors. Means in this case demand is more than supply. Means मान लो हम 2 ही पेन सप्लाई कर सकते हैं लेकिन डिमांड है 10 पेन्स का, तो क्या होगा? ऑटोमेटिकली ये 2 पेन का दाम बढ़ जाएगा. तो क्या होगा? डिमांड साइड इन्फ्लेशन और डिमांड इन्फ्लेशन. ओके, डिमांड पुल बेसिकली. सॉरी. नाउ नेक्स्ट इज कॉस्ट पुश इन्फ्लेशन. In cost push inflation, what will happen? Let's suppose these 2 pens are being produced in same company. Now in this time the cost of production will increase. Means the raw material, labor, whatever is being required to produce these pens, it will increase and the price will significantly go up. Then this will be considered as what? Cost push inflation. Okay. Now our third part is structural inflation. Structural inflation is known as what? The inflation which occurs due to the structural factors. Means let's suppose we have quite food inflation this time. Why it is? Due to the structural issues. Structural issues means we don't have storage facilities. Due to this the inflation increases. So it is happened due to the structural factors, so it is considered as structural inflation. Or it is also known as bottleneck inflation. See, I will give you 2 examples. These 2 bottles are there. This bottle you see, what is this? Means the end is quite narrow. Okay, so if I will pour the water in the glass, what will happen? The water will go significantly less. And on the other hand, this is another bottle. It is having a wide type of hole which will pour more water. Means what is happening? Due to the structure of this bottle, the inflation is been affected. So it is called structural inflation. Now I hope it will be clear. Now come to the next part, which is shrinkflation. Means contraction. Contraction means what? Contract kar jana. For example, I will give you the example of this biscuit. Okay. For example, how many this biscuit is cost? let's suppose 10 rupees. Okay, so if the production cost of this biscuit increases, then there are two factors to control it. यदि इसका प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट बढ़ेगा तो उसका दाम बढ़ा दो, या तो इसकी क्वांटिटी को घटा दो. जनरली कंपनी अब दाम बढ़ाएगी तो कोई लेना इसको प्रीफर करेगा नहीं. तो कंपनीज क्या करती हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल इसमें अभी 20 बिस्किट्स हैं, तो ये 10 रुपीज़ का ही ये रहेगा, लेकिन इसके अंदर जो ये बिस्किट्स है उसकी क्वांटिटी को कम कर दिया जाएगा, यानी कि श्रिंक कर दिया जाएगा. मीन्स क्वांटिटी विल बी कॉम्प्रोमाइज इंस्टेड ऑफ प्राइस. सो दिस टाइप ऑफ इन्फ्लेशन इज नोन एज श्रिंकफ्लेशन, मतलब सिकुड़ जाना. ओके, क्लियर. नेक्स्ट इज प्रॉफिट इंड्यूस्ड इन्फ्लेशन. मीन्स इट इज डेलिबरेटली डन. डेलिबरेटली मीन्स मतलब अपने मन से प्रॉफिट चाहिए तो इंक्रीज कर दो प्राइसेस को. मोनोपोली है मार्केट में, आप कर दो. मीन्स अब मैं अकेला प्रोड्यूसर हूँ उस पेन का, तो मैं क्या करूँगा, मेरा मन करेगा मैं इस पेन के प्राइस को इंक्रीज कर दूंगा. आई विल इंक्रीज द प्राइस ऑफ दिस पेन. ओके. नेक्स्ट इज वेज प्राइस इन्फ्लेशन. व्हाट इज वेज प्राइस इन्फ्लेशन? मीन्स फॉर एग्जाम्पल देयर इज एन इंडस्ट्री इन विच there are some workers. Due to increment in the inflation, what will happen, the worker will demand for high money. Obvious सी बात है, आप जहाँ काम करोगे तो आप डिमांड तो ज़्यादा करोगे ही, बिकॉज इन्फ्लेशन इज बीन इंक्रीज्ड. सो योर वेज शुड ऑल्सो इंक्रीज, यू विल डिमांड. सो in order to deal with these factors, what do company will do, it will increase the price of the product, and again the price of product is increased, inflation is there, and again worker will try to demand for more wages. Means this is a vicious cycle. And what it is? Wage price inflation. Now second one is skewed inflation. Skewed inflation means narrow, means limited to only specific products. For example, in the market you go and purchase vegetables. Some vegetables are perishables. Perishables means which means due to the seasonal factors it spoils, it's route out. Okay, so inflation is there in vegetables, but it is only fixed to a certain quantities. मीन्स जैसे कि सब्जी है तो उसमें यदि आलू है, प्याज है, टमाटर है, इसको फिर TOP बोलते हैं, टोमेटो ऑनियन पोटैटो. टोमेटो है, ऑनियन है, पोटैटो है, उनका प्राइस बढ़ जाता है. क्यों? क्योंकि दे आर पेरिशेबल्स. मीन्स इन्फ्लेशन इज देयर इन वेजिटेबल, बट इट इज ओनली बीन टू द सम एक्सटेंट ऑफ वेजिटेबल्स. मीन्स कुछ ही वेजिटेबल्स है, बाकी सब ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज इम्पोर्टेड इन्फ्लेशन. व्हाट इज इम्पोर्टेड? इम्पोर्टेड मीन्स जो आप सामान बाहर से मंगवा रहे हो, इम्पोर्ट कर रहे हो. सो देर आर सम प्रोडक्ट्स विच आर वेरी मच हैविंग वॉलेटिलिटी, सच एज फूड, फ्यूल. इन दिस थिंग्स इन्फ्लेशन इज मेजरली वेरी हाई. मीन्स for example, fuel is been imported from other countries, in Gulf countries, है ना, Oman, UAE, Saudi. So what will happen if anything goes wrong in that country, in Middle East, then deliberately the price of the products which are been imported from that countries, it will increase. The items cost will increase, food fuel will increase. Means here inflation is there, but it is affected due to import side factors, so it is imported inflation. Next is stagflation. What is stagflation? Means in this inflation economic growth is stagnant. Means economic growth stagnant है, मतलब stagnant means क्या? Means कि stagnant है, एक समान है, ना बढ़ रहा है ना घट रहा है. And the production is stagnant. So inflation will be there, unemployment will be there, and hence inflation will increase. Okay, So there is another concept, inflationary gap and deflationary gap. What is inflationary gap? When adequate demand is more than adequate supply, then this gap is been created and it is demand minus supply. Okay, it is inflationary gap. And second is deflationary gap, in which adequate supply is higher than adequate demand. In this S minus D, it is deflationary gap. Inflationary gap encourages the investment. If it will increase the investment, the employment will be increased. Okay, next is deflationary gap. Now next, which is very important for everyone, which is monetary inflation. So let's simplify it. What is monetary inflation? Monetary inflation is been done by the chief bank of our country, which is RBI. Means it is a, you can say, like a guardian of an Indian economy, you can say. So RBI is a statutory body. RBI is in set up in which year? There was a RBI Act of 1934, and in 1 April 1935 RBI was been established. First it was in Kolkata, and after a few time it shifted to Mumbai. Okay, so what is monetary inflation? Basically it is a policies of RBI which monetary policy of RBI which affect the inflation is called monetary inflation. Okay, next is also very important, that is headline and core inflation. What is headline and what is core? Let's get it simple. So headline means there are two type of things, means volatile and non-volatile. Okay, so in headline there will be volatile plus non-volatile type of things. Okay, means food and fuel are volatile and rest are non-volatile. So in headline, the volatile and non-volatile both will be there, and in core inflation only non-volatile will be there. Okay, now let's come to Phillips curve. Phillips curve is a very important concept. It shows the relationship between inflation and unemployment. So again, I will take the example of these two pens. So let's get simplified. These two are two axes, y axis and x axis. Clear? This line shows unemployment rate. This line shows inflation. Clear? This is inflation. This is unemployment rate. Clear? So here what will be happen? It will be high inflation. Okay? What will be here? High unemployment. Okay, and this graph will go like this. There will be curve like this. Okay, you can feel it, means just imagine it. I am saying it virtually, but just visualize it. The curve goes like this. Curve goes like this. This is what? This is what? This is the what? Inflation, and this is unemployment. So basically Phillips curve refers the relationship between inflation and unemployment. Means when inflation is very much here, then unemployment is what? Very, very what? Less or high? Very less. And when it is here, when unemployment is very much, inflation is not there, means it is what? It is directly proportional, inversely proportional. So basically inflation is directly proportional, inversely proportional to unemployment. Okay, means high inflation, no high inflation, low unemployment, high employment. And at this point of time, low inflation, high unemployment, low employment. Okay, and this curve was given by William Phillips. Next, come to GDP. Tomorrow I have covered GDP, but again it is written in my notes, so I have to cover. GDP is what? Gross domestic products, goods, which is goods and services, which is covered within a India within a India and total goods, and it is referred as GDP. GDP is economic value in a year. Okay, clear? There are two type of GDP: real GDP and nominal GDP. Real GDP means GDP of the base year, means as of now India's real GDP base year is 2011-12. Okay, it is a reference year. And in nominal GDP we cover the both inflation and the current year. Also current year is included in it. Okay, clear? Now you might get confused that what is GSDP. For Bihar we can't say GDP, we will say GSDP, gross state domestic product. As of now the GSDP of Bihar is 7.5 lakh crore nominal GDP, and real is 4.4 lakh crore. According to Viksit Bharat scheme of NDA 2.0 government, in this Amrit Kal, government is trying to do that. It is aiming for 30 trillion economy till 2047, according to Viksit Bharat of Viksit Bharat report of Niti Aayog. ठीक है? So currently India is 3.3 billion US dollar economy, means in rupee it will be 330 lakh crore, and currently it is the fifth largest economy. Okay, in terms of nominal. Okay, it has surpassed UK. UK has come down to 6th position and India is on 5th position, and the top countries are, comment down in the comment section, let me know. So you have thinking that who is calculating this data. So GDP is calculated by MOSPI. What is MOSPI? Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. MOSPI, it is very important question, and NSO operates the MOSPI for the data collection. So earlier what used to happen, NSO was not there in the scene. There was CSO and NSSO. What are CSO? Central Statistical Organization, and NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization. In 2019 it was been merged, and it has become NSO, National Sample Organization or National Statistics Organization. Let me confirm. Next is base effect. And what is base effect? For example, there is a biscuit of 10 rupees and it increased the price of 10 rupees more. It has become how much? It has become 20 rupees. It will seem you very costly. On the other hand, if I will say that this is the book of 500 and it has increased its price by 30 rupees or 40 rupees, it will seem you quite low. Why? Because the base of this biscuit is only 10 rupees, and on other hand the base of this book is 500. So due to the base you will see that the 10 rupees biscuit will seem quite costlier than the book. Why it is happening? Due to the base. Okay, it is known as base effect. So for tomorrow I will covering the next topics. Until then, it is been covered up to base effect. Okay, from next, government security and other things will be covered. Till then, keep studying. and I am also going to study. Jai Hind. Namaskar.